Okay, so looking beyond the barrier. Okay, let's talk about the energy chip, the pendulum UFO, and the WNK UFO. This is based on the investigation that I've been doing with Chris Locke. Chris Locke is somebody from the UK that is living in Japan. He's teaching at a university in Osaka. He's married, as I understand, he's married a Japanese girl, woman. And he's teaching in a university. And we together, we've been doing some recent studies, and we are writing some books to publish. Okay, so that's Chris Locke. So he's a very good friend of mine that I haven't seen yet. I mean, just through internet, not even Skype, but he's a very good friend of mine. Okay, quite interesting. So we have been doing investigation about the energy chips and other piece of evidence. Well, this is the camera that Billy Meier used for the energy chips. This is an Olympus 35. Let me see the specifications. This is a camera. The Olympus 35 ECR camera. Some people think that Billy Meier was some kind of photographer because he took very good photographs. No, he's like a normal tourist that has a device and press a button and it's okay. It's more complicated to use an iPhone just to take a picture. This one was more simple. Just point and click. It has a visor, something that he looked behind that, and she just put on the frame and they click. That's it. It's automatically set the exposure and the speed of the exposure and the, how you call it? The aperture of the diaphragm. So he have no way to play with that. He cannot do also, for example, double exposure. For double exposure, you need a more sophisticated camera. My brother had a Nikon camera, but that's fine, and has a little button that I press it and I can roll it, the roll film without rolling it, so I can make a double exposure. This one is not. This one is, to make a double exposure, he has to release the button that is below and roll it back a little bit and just precise movement to set the frame where he wants to have it. It's so complicated, and if you put a tripod on it, you cannot press the button. So it's really complicated. Billy Meier used it because it's very easy for him. You may see a documentary made by Japanese reporters about Billy Meier case, and he showed that camera, and he showed why he selected. Because it's very simple to use with one hand. Billy Meier has only one arm, because he has to use it with only one hand. So with that hand, he rolled the roll, he moved the roll, and he pressed the button, and that's it. So all the picture that you see is with that type of camera. With this one, another one he had later on. So it's very difficult to do double exposure. So to doing double exposure is complicated. Secondly, this is one of the energy chips. Remember, this is, according to Billy, that energy chip are beings from Andromeda system, little ones that are half energy and half matter, that came here. Billy tried to establish contact with them, saying, hello, how are you? Telepathic contact, talking with them, but he couldn't. These are beings that are very advanced, so they do not speak our language, not even our telepathic language. So how did they communicate with Billy? They were doing what Billy did, they were doing the same. For example, Billy used a lantern, so they were imitating Billy's lantern. There was a car coming from far away on the mountains, and they were imitating the car. They were imitating the street lights in Billy property. So every light of soul that they saw, they were imitating. Like for example, I go and I see a monkey say, who, and I go there and I do the same, who. So feel comfortable because I am imitating this. So that's what they did. They tried to imitate all the lights around Billy. Doing some image processing, increasing the brightness, we found this in this photograph. This is a little line that looks like it's been illuminated by the energy chip itself. We found there are some vertical beams of light from that energy chip that are illuminating something that looks like an electric cord or something that was below. Okay? Okay, this is what I found. But the skeptic side says, we use the street light and he just moved the camera, and the little line that you see is some detail in the pole of the street light that is very bright, so it creates that line. So what you see here is that little thing moving. Okay, but why is very straight? Oh, of course, we did use a tripod and rotate the camera and did the double exposure. It sounds logical, right? But why 25 vertical beams? We have counted around 25 vertical beams here. Okay, maybe we really took 25 photographs. So what we have to do is put in the tripod, take a picture, put it out of the tripod, press a button, release a little piece, the roll, move the roll, put it back, take the other picture, and do it that 25 times. It's so complicated, so it cannot be a straight line. Or some other people could say, no, he just moved the camera, and because this light probably is not a continuous light, probably it's a stroboscopic light, because it's used with alternate electricity, so it's just flash of light, but you don't notice, but as soon as you move it, you notice it's not continuous. Okay, sounds logical. You can find every time any kind of arguments from both sides. But also has to be shifted, because it's not horizontal, it's shifted 3 degrees to the left. Okay, so very simple. Really put the tripod, and it was not a flat area, so it's shifted somehow. Or probably one of the legs of the tripod was longer than the other one, something like that, so it moved away. Okay, but why the vertical beams here are not shifted too? If you move the camera, why the vertical beams are not shifted too? So there is a question that goes back and forth. So that's part of the skeptic barrier. Okay, you say something, they say something. You say something else, they say something else. That's very important job to be in that exchange of information, and that's very useful. Okay, so also you will notice that if you throw a line from here to here, it's not exactly parallel to that one. There's a lot of a small chipment too. Displacement. So it doesn't sound logical that this is the lamp. I don't know how to do it with that lamp, with the camera really. That's another interesting photograph. What do you think is that? Is the moon? Probably is the moon, right? Nice view of the moon with something here. Okay, this is not the moon. This is another energy chips. If you look at the photograph, you see there are clouds. So this is something that is in the sky, on the sky. It's not a double exposure trick. If it's a double exposure trick, you won't see the trees. And also the date June 23. The trees here has a lot of leaves. So it's compatible to a photograph taken in summer. You notice the photographs Billy Meier took, you notice if it's in summer, spring, or winter, because of the vegetation. This one looks like in summer. And also it's toward the northwest, where I think Menara ship landed by this area, so it's toward the northwest. So some people say, very clear, he took a photo of the moon and he did a double exposure of something very bright. Okay, but June 23, there was not a full moon in the sky. No full moon. So what is this? Of course Billy didn't took that photo in June 23. He's lying. It was not. It was when there was full moon in another time. But toward the northwest, in the St. Joseph Silverstone Center, the moon is never toward the northwest. You never see it there. And I did it. I checked in my application that showed me the sky in Switzerland, and I found that the moon, the only way that is toward, the farther way that is very close to the west, but not to the northwest here. This is the moon. This is a simulation, but I have to do it in December, in winter, not in summertime. Why in winter, not in summertime? You know, full moon is always opposite to the sun. In winter, the sun is to the south or to the north. Winter time, oh my God. Okay, in winter the sun, you see here, the sun is going to the south in winter. Okay? In winter time the sun is toward the south, so the moon is opposite to that, it's toward the north, like this one. It's the northern way the moon could be. But in summer, that moon should be here, more to the south, not in the northwest. So that photo itself, if it's taken toward the northwest, I'm totally sure this is not the moon. Totally sure, this is not the moon. If this is not the moon, what is it? It's not a double exposure, you see the trees. This is not a double exposure, you see the clouds, but it's not the moon, or what is shining up there. Another photograph, the last one of that I'm going to show you about the energy chips, is this one. It's like the moon behind, but it's not round, it's some kind of oval, ellipse, but it's not a round one. Also, by this time of the year, this day, there was not full moon in the sky. I'm not sure the direction of this photograph, but I cannot say it's toward the northwest or something. So it doesn't matter. You see that bright object that looks like the moon, the hill is very well, is cropping the bright sky behind. So this is not a double exposure. If it would be double exposure, all of that area would be very bright and you cannot see the hill. So it's a bright object behind. Some skeptic says, okay, if this is a bright energy chip, why is not projecting the shadows toward the front? Because the brightness of these objects is like the brightness of the moon. Okay? If you take photos of the moon never projects shadows. If you have a straight light that is stronger. So these shadows you see here, that one pointing to the right and that one pointing to the back, tell us that there is a very bright source, electric source here, probably a street light in this area, on the left side. So the intensity of this object that is like the moon is not enough to create shadows to the front. You also notice the trees has some small leaves but not big ones, so it's comparable with the time, early spring, so it's okay, it could be around that time. And also you notice that the image itself is static, it's not moving. So why this is moving? Some skeptics could say, okay, this moved because he took a photograph of the moon and he moved the camera. If he moved the camera, why this is not moved? The trees and all of that. Oh, very simple. He put it in a tripod, he waited until the moon moved itself because of the rotation of the earth. The earth is rotating, so the moon just moved. Just enough just to make that shape. But you know, to do that, if you investigate a bit more, you require an exposition of 2 minutes. In 2 minutes, the moon moved from here to here to make that shape. Video camera has only up to 4 seconds of exposure, not 1 minute, not 2 minutes. We cannot do it. So with the camera, we cannot take that picture. So this is also an unknown object on the sky. Okay, and we can continue on and on. Okay, before we move forward, I would like to make a short break. If you want. Okay, before I move on into the other pieces of information, I forgot to mention something about the energy chips. Somebody asked me about the size of how big were they, because I've been hearing that in other places they have seen huge spaceships. Billy said that they were very big, one of them 100 meters, probably bigger than that, and others were very small. So different sizes they came, so maybe it's not the one that he saw in his place, that probably looks like 2 meters long. There were others that were 100 meters. That one we don't know. Could be something 1 kilometer far away, or could be 10 meters closer. We don't know. Okay, let's continue with the barrier. So still there's a question of why the barrier is put by the ETs. Okay? Why they did it? How is this helping us in our evolution? Let's leave that for the end, okay? We will be there. Pendulum UFO. Okay. In the same contact report, Pat is talking about the jerky pendulum movements. So they did it on purpose. Somebody may ask, okay, something that I don't understand. Why the ETs make fake demonstration? Probably they should not do anything of that at all. They should not do any type of demonstration because they are doing something that is fake. The answer is that they do a demonstration that has two aspects. One aspect that shows is fake, another aspect that shows is true. What we're going to see is the aspect that shows us that is true. Okay? Both aspects are very important. You may read a document, a blog written by Professor James Dirdorf. Professor James Dirdorf passed away a few years ago. I was in contact with him when I started this investigation. He's a very interesting scientist. Actually, the first investigation that I did about the wedding cake UFO, he was peer reviewing that investigation. As a scientist, he was checking all my statements. He was challenging me more to find something else and demonstrate it in different ways. Professor Dirdorf wrote an article calling the plausible deniable, right. It's very interesting, and at the end of his article, he talked about the semi-plausible deniable. So semi means that it's somehow deniable, but has some part that is not so bad. So they show the information with two aspects, one that showed that is fake, and another part of the information that is real. Okay, so that they did in the pendulum UFO. Okay, what is a pendulum? Are you familiar with the pendulum clocks? Probably the old people like us know about that, but the younger ones, it's already left. The younger ones probably haven't seen a pendulum clock. Pendulum clock was made with using a pendulum. Why a pendulum? Because the movement of the pendulum is very precise. The period of the pendulum has a precise measurement of time, or make a precise measure of time, depending on the length of the pendulum. And it depends on the air gravity. We can use a pendulum here, and measuring the time the pendulum moves, we can know what is the air gravity here. If we go to Mars, and we use another pendulum that's moving slowly, we can measure the gravity there. If we go to outer space where there is no gravity, the pendulum doesn't move. Just stay quiet because the gravity is not moving. The period of the pendulum is the time that it takes starting from one side, moving to the other side, and coming back to the same side. But you can measure the period of the pendulum starting from the middle, going there, going that, and going back. So it's the time that it takes to complete one cycle. There are different types of pendulums. I'm going to show you very quickly because you're going to see it in the pendulum UFO. The planar pendulum is left and right, like the watch that you know, the pendulum watch. Conical pendulum, the object is moving in circles. So the UFO is moving in circles. So you have a cord and you're moving like that, so it's moving in circles. And the spiral pendulum is exactly the same moving circle, but you move the node of the pendulum upwards. So it's like that, but you're moving upwards. So it's creating like a spiral stairs moving up there. So these are the three types of pendulums. We're going to see it. I have a video here, and you will see it, the pendulum movements. I'm going to ask you to watch some details there, so you will be ready to see it. Okay, this is a tree, this is a small house, these are some electric towers. This is a piece of dust on the road, on the movie, and you will see these pieces of dust. That's very useful because you can distinguish one frame from another one, and if they're duplicated frames, you distinguish duplicated frames because the piece of dust is in these duplicated frames. So it's some kind of dust there is that is helping also to do some research. The UFO was staying there on the top of the tree, and now it's starting to move. It happened in March 18, 1975. It was called, let's move. Okay, at the beginning, the movie is just now starting. It's very quiet. It was afternoon where there was very light snow in the air, so visibility is not very good. Billy has his recording camera in a tripod in a specific position, and he's recording that. In a point of time, the movement of this UFO, like over here, like somebody's pulling from a cord and release it, and start to move left to right. But suddenly, well, this is a planar pendulum. Suddenly it stopped, like somebody's pulling, stop it, and stop a small movement in circles. That circles is around the tree. If you look at the film with some detail, you notice that the UFO goes behind the tree. So the tree and the UFO are in the same place. So it's moving in circles. This is the conical pendulum. Now start moving left to right, planar pendulum again, like somebody is just moving that way with the fishing rod. Sometimes just move up and down. I'm not sure if you see it. Probably here, that's moving up and down. And now do a right turn. It's coming to the front, move back and forth. I'm not sure if you see something there. I did the first jump. Look at in the pot. You see it? Yeah. You miss it? But try you see it. There's some white. Okay, left to right. Jumping. Then move to the front. Again. Going now. Sometimes. Okay, after that one, so it's coming and it's coming to the front. And look at the top of the frame. Not now. The next one. Now. You see something? Yeah. This is the first jump. You're not seeing detail. And the second jump, you see again on the front, on the top part. Some white band. Very clear. This come. Now, you see it. Okay. Then start reducing the movement. Practically it's stopping, and the last part I have another piece of the film, but this is a film continuous film, but I have it in two parts. Okay, sorry, there's some noise. At the end it's going in the spiral pendulum, going up there. Okay, it's an object in a pendulum. Or maybe it's a spaceship simulating the pendulum movement. How do we know? So where are the clues that show us that this is real? In the pendulum variations, in the periods. The period of the pendulum changes all the time. Depending on the measurement of the time, and we use a computer tool to see frame by frame. Each frame is less than 1/10 of a second. So we calculate how long it takes for going from left to right and going back. So we measure the pendulum periods, and because of that we know the length of the pendulum. So the length of the cord. Somebody called Phil Langdon made a demonstration of that. He put a small model, and he put a cord in the top of a tree, and he started moving it. Simulating. It's very similar. You look, it's exactly the same. It's very similar. But if you measure the pendulum period in his demonstration, it's always the same. It's 4 something seconds or something like that. Always the same. I did some simulation, I was in one of my YouTube videos, I was doing by myself. And I was moving and recording and checking the period. If you have the same length, it's the same period. Doesn't matter that you move it there, here, or there. There was a scientist, a physician called Bruce McAvee. He did an investigation on that, and he read the conclusion it was fake. But he noticed that the period changed too. But he didn't provide a good explanation why it's changing. And the changes are very big. It's around 3.2 meters long. So in a pendulum that's 6 meters, 6 meters, probably something from here to the wall, is changing 3 meters. Oh, so if you reduce it only to that, probably half of that. How can that fishing rod change that length so quickly? So the pendulum doesn't fit the pendulum measurements of the period of the pendulum doesn't fit the theory that this is a pendulum. So here you see we have a maximum error of 10 of a second in our measurement using the computer tool. It's too like a lower perimeter that you measure frame by frame. So the maximum error could be 25 centimeters. So in this size, why 3 meters? It's very big, right? So the error is not a measurement error. It's done on purpose. So the Plejaren did the demonstration and they moved the chip in a way that looks like a pendulum, exactly like a pendulum, but they know that one day we'll be measuring the periods and notice that this is not a real pendulum. How can we do it? So there's two ways to do it. One is as Phil Landon did it, just hanging a cord to a tree in the top and with another cord just moving back and forth. But in this case the period of the movement will be fixed because the line, this length is fixed, it's not changing. And at the end, when he is moving in the spiral pendulum up there, because the length is reducing, the pendulum should be faster, should be moving faster. But what happened in the field is being reducing, is longer. So it looks like this point is moving up there too. In the fishing rod, I haven't found a fishing rod of 15 meters long. It's not possible, nobody can handle it. And somebody with just one arm cannot do it. I was, in my test, the longest that I have was 4 meters, but 15 meters is completely impossible for me. And I cannot imagine Billy Mayer just with one hand, just handling that. It's impossible. It's like this proportion is so long. How we know this is this length? By measuring the pendulum length, and the fact that it's at the end has to go up, so the top of the fishing rod has to be very high. In some cases it's very low to reducing that. It's very hard to do. And there's some challenge about that, and the one that I like it more is this one. When it's moving in circles around the tree, in one case it lasts, or the length of the pendulum is 4.8 meters long in one circle, and the next one is 5.6, and then go back to 4.6. So it is like that, this length, then it is longer, and then it's reduced. How can you do it without the object or the UFO moving up and down? So it's a simple, perfect circle, but it's changing all the time in three consecutive cycles. I am not able to do it. I was imagining how to do it, and I built a model of how to do it, but it's so complicated, that probably the most logical explanation is that this is a UFO, an extraterrestrial spaceship simulating pendulum movement. But in doing in reality it's so complicated that it doesn't sound logical. Okay, this is a nice video that shows the right turn in detail and the moving tree. Right turn is coming here and it's coming to the front. That's very simple, just pull the fishing rod and move it. That cannot be done. I tried, it's very difficult to do right turn with that. So people say, oh, there's another cord, and you pull it. Phil Landon did it. He used another cord and pull it. Okay, but the UFO is shaking. As soon as you pull it, it's shaking. Okay? I said it's not possible to do it. But another skeptic said, oh, it's very easy. He put a gyroscope inside this little toy. Gyroscope is something that is spinning, so gives some stability. But this is also not true, because as soon as you put it, because you are inducing an external force, it starts to wobbling around, moving like the Earth during the precession of equinox. So that movement, so it's not possible. And also, I don't know if you have noticed, look at the top of the tree. Did you see that it's moving? Yeah. Again. Look, now the top of the tree. Oh, it's moving. The UFO is moving the top of the tree without touching it. If this is a little model, the turbulence caused by it cannot move any tree. A little tree, I tried with different trees, with different models, and I cannot move it. Maybe that UFO has some kind of electrical force that move it, or probably it was just the dragging of the air that moved it. So it looks like a big object. There's something interesting anecdote about that, something that happened to Wendell Stevens. You know Wendell Stevens was an early UFO investigator of the Billy Meier case. He went to Switzerland and he took a copy of this film. He was not authorized yet to show it to somebody else. Billy told him, you cannot show it, take it for yourself, but don't show it. But Wendell Stevens arrived to his home in Tucson, and he called reporters from Denver magazine. So the reporters went to his home. It was in the fall of 1981. And he took his copy, and he put it on his, in any room in his house, and he projected the film, and they saw it. Everything that we are seeing projected. So the reporters has their camera, and they were filming what they saw on the screen. But the camera never worked. The battery was dead. The camera didn't show anything, like they couldn't record it. They went out for another piece of batteries, and they put it back on the camera, and they tried to record it, and it never worked again. What is happening? You will find that interesting story in the UFO from the Pleiades Supplemental Investigation Report, page 536. It's an interesting conversation or something that Wendell is telling us. And when they were doing that, tried to recording that never worked, and the reporters from Denver was a little bit scared. Oh, something wrong here. Why it's not working? Our equipment is always working, but it's not working. Why we cannot record that one? Somebody called Wendell, and he went to the phone and said, hey, well, what's going on? No, somebody had seen a UFO flying above the place you are, in the city. Have you heard about that? Oh, no, I haven't. But there was a UFO flying above of that, probably interfering that demonstration. Why? Because we were not ready at this point of time, in 1981, to look that in more detail. Now we can. Otherwise, probably the lights will be off. The computer will not be working, but now we are seeing it. Probably we are authorized to see it. Okay, that's something very funny that happened to him. It's interesting to read it. Okay, we are going to see the jumps. The jumps happen when the UFO moves from the back to the front, or from the front to the back. With the image processing tool for the film that I use Pinnacle Studio. Somebody can use Adobe Premiere or any kind of tool like Final Cut. You can do it the same. So I put some stabilization, so I stabilize the image, and I put some slow motion on it. So you will see it. That's very interesting. Okay, so the UFO moves up and back to the up, front to the back to the front. And the first jump happened here. It's in a slow motion. Look how it moves. So it's getting close to the top of the tree, and then jump behind the tree. You see something here? Wow. Okay, that's the first jump. The second jump happens when the UFO is coming from the back to the front. A couple of 3 seconds later, something like that. So here it's coming. Go to the front, go to the back, and there is coming, look at the top of the tree. Do you see something? The top of the tree expands. And it jumps. Okay, let's do it again. Okay, that's the first jump. First jump is very close and then jump to the back of the tree in a 10 of a second. You see? Okay. And the second one, just look in detail the top of the tree. The second one is here. Also moving back and forth, goes to back. After that one, now in a slow motion. You see it? The top of the tree expanded. Ah, quite strange. The Pleiadians took this tree, and disappeared. After that, they disappeared the tree. The tree is not there. They say that the tree was damaged because of that demonstration, and they were feeling very sorry about the tree. So what they did is quite strange. They somehow made the tree disappear and start living in some other place. How they do it, I have no idea, but they did it. But it also helps the worldwide UFO controversy, because somebody goes there and says, "Oh, there is no tree here. What are you talking about? Really use a small little tree there." So it's helping the UFO controversy. Okay, the jumps. These are the frames of the jumps. In this case, one of the jumps, all individual frames. And because Billy Meier was recording with his camera at 24 frames per second, and the recording from the wall, on the modern recordings at 30 frames per second, there is some kind of pattern that makes that every 5 frames, there is one that is the same one, repeated. So this one is the same as this one. You see the piece of dust here, the piece of dust there, is the same frame. Also this one is the same frame. So it goes from 1, 2, 3, 4, and at the same as 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, and at the same as 9, and 10. So we can put it away probably 9 and 4 and use the other ones. But you see, the white one that you saw in the video is here. The white one, just starting when the jump starts, there is a white one there, a white one here, here, and here. 1, 2, 3, 4 consecutive frames. Why this is happening? Somebody said, no, Billy did a cut by the jump by cutting the film roll. So to simulate the jump, he cut it 4 frames or 5 frames, and they put it all together. Oh, of course, they went to that. They put some kind of glue, and that glue damaged the film itself. So to create that thing. Okay, but why not? Okay, here are from left to right, but actually from the top from the bottom is in this direction. But why there is not a bottom damage here, for example? If this is damaged in the bottom, logically this one is damaged in the top, but the other one should be damaged. So there is not a logical explanation why 4 consecutive frames has that white frame. My only explanation of that is that when the jumps happen, the wind chip produces an electric shock, electric pulse, electrostatic pulse. That affected the camera and produced some electric lighting inside the camera. In the bottom part of the camera. The image is inverted, so that's the bottom part of the camera, and this is the top of the camera. And it happens when the chip jumps. In the movie, Contact from the Pleiades, produced by Britt and Lee Elders, Billy Meier is explaining that when the UFOs do a jump, he feels an electric shock, some electricity in the body. So here is producing that electricity and it's affecting the camera. So you see the white band there because of that electricity. Looking in detail the jumps, jump 1, jump 2, and the simulation. Okay? So I simulated by putting some frames. So the chips is here, and then it's here, because I put it out some of the frames. So you see there is not a transition between it's in the left, now it's in the right, and continue to the right. But if you look at the jumps in the real film, that are here and here, jump 1 and jump 2, there is a gradual transition. You see in the upper part, the UFO is completely visible. But here it starts to disappearing, and appearing in the front, and here it is completely materialized here. So if you look at that, it's like, if, for example, I am doing that kind of jump, I have the capability, so I'm going to jump from here, in the space, to here. What is happening, looking at those frames, is that I start the jump here, so I am 100% matter. But then I start to reduce my the level of matter in me, so I am only 80% of matter, but at the same time I am 20% of matter here, present here. Later on I am 50%, so I am here, at the same time I am here, 50%. So 50% of me is there, 50% of me is here. And at the end, 100% of me is here and nothing is there. So it's not a jump, immediate jump. It takes around 1/10 of a second. That jump takes that time. And it's not an immediate jump, but it's a smooth jump that they did it with the chips. These jumps are telling us that they have the capability to jump in space. That could explain why they can travel from very far away in just in a fraction of a time. They don't have to travel all the space, they just jump in the space. That's very interesting to see it. Okay, if you want more details about that for the pendulum UFO, you can go to a detailed investigation that I did in that link. It is also available in Spanish, in English and in Spanish, or a YouTube video that has a full investigation of all of that, or you'll find it in my YouTube channel. You will find for Rhal Zahi videos, and you'll find it. Okay, any questions so far on the pendulum UFO? So you see, they simulated that. Some people say, oh, why don't have it a big spaceship or a model of 7 meters and use a crane, and the crane is how moving it. Okay, it was not so fast. With a very long 100 meters length, it's going to take probably 30 seconds to move from one place to another, not 5 seconds. So it's not possible to. Somebody has any question about that? So you start to see why they did it this way. So they show something that looks fake, but has some hidden clues for some people to look at in detail that they found it is true. So why the players are doing that? Why they want us to believe that it's fake, and then if we look at it in detail, we know that it is true. Probably they are trying to tell us, don't trust anything you see. Just look at by yourself, do your own analysis, and you will find the truth. Don't trust anything that is said, okay? If you read anything, just be skeptical about what you are reading, and just have to put inside you, internalize that, and understand it from yourself.